Now, school students are holding strikes in countries around the world today to demand action on climate change. Organisers have said over 1 million people are expected to join in at least 110 countries. The strikes were sparked by the Swedish student Greta Thunberg, whose solo protest outside Sweden's parliament last year has led to movements across the world known as Fridays for Future. Our science correspondent Rebecca Morell reports.
From marches through the streets of Spain to demonstrations in India and protests in New Zealand. Around the world, the school strike movement continues to grow, calling for urgent action on climate change.
Basically, we have two demands. We're wanting a more ambitious zero-carbon act. We're also wanting the government to declare a climate emergency.
It is fundamental for me to be here. It is fundamental that everyone takes part in the strikes on the 24th of May, as well as these strikes every single week. We are putting pressure on the governments and we want them to act fast and now.
Leading the protests in Sweden, 16-year-old Greta Thunberg. Her decision to boycott classes in 2018 has prompted young people from around the world to follow suit.
Vissa vuxna tycker att det är dåligt att vi strejkar från skolan.
Some adults think it is wrong for us to go on strike instead of going to school, that we instead should study so that we can make a difference in the future. But the fact that it will be too late when we are finished with our studies is something they ignore.
And the organisers say today's global strike is their biggest yet. It comes as global temperatures are rising. The last 4 years have been the warmest on record, and the UN says major changes are now needed. That will mean cutting greenhouse gas emissions to zero by 2050 and ending our dependence on fossil fuels. The students say it's their future that's at stake, and they're now calling for older generations to join their protests later this year. But while they're highlighting this global issue, it's not yet clear if it will prompt the action from governments they demand. Rebecca Morell, BBC News.